We'll say hi. We're here doing this podcast because Cody's a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
And Jill just wanted an excuse to do a podcast with her friends.
Hi! Welcome to Dead Wives and Kids with Knives, a nuanced discussion of the literary works of Stephen King. I'm Cody Lindenberger.
I'm Jill Gillespie.
We're here to talk about Stephen King.
Mm-hmm.
I am a huge fan of the works of Stephen King. I've been reading him since I was far too young to actually be reading him. I've read everything Stephen King has ever written. I own almost every book he's ever published. I'm one of his biggest fans. Jill?
I have wanted to do a podcast with Cody. I am coming in fresh. I have read exactly 2 Stephen King books. I have seen 1 movie of Stephen King. I've seen more than 1 movie total. But
You've seen like 4 movies, I think.
I've seen 4 movies
Yeah.
600 times. So I thought this would be a really fun opportunity for us to showcase Cody's nerdery,
Expertise.
and
I also nerdery. I have Stephen King tattoos on my body. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan.
And it'll give me a chance to also, I love homework. So we're going to pick a book every month-ish, read it, do a little book club. We're going to just pick apart one book at a time, and I'll ask all of my questions about what he was thinking when he wrote this. And
I know all of that because I've read these books like 15 times each.
Yeah.
Jill and I have been friends for a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
We're both comedians and performers in Kansas City. If you're watching or listening to this and don't know us, I'm a stand-up comedian, an improv performer, comedy writer, sketch performer. I've actually been in Kansas City all weekend. There's a lot of snow here this weekend, and so I've been staying in an Airbnb for the last 3 days. I was supposed to perform shows on Friday and Saturday, and they all got canceled. So I've been kind of living my own shining experience this weekend. I've just been stuck in this Airbnb, just, I had alcohol, so unlike Jack Torrance, I was much more
And it was real alcohol.
It was real alcohol. It was not ghost liquor. So, and I didn't have any children around either, so it was much easier for me to not go crazy.
Yeah. What did you steal from the Airbnb?
I didn't take anything. I left only with memories and a rash on the side of my body. Yeah. I'm going to give him like 3 stars.
Well, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm here. I'm happy to be here. This is the one thing that didn't get canceled, so it makes the whole weekend worth it.
He's like, if we cancel this, I will Jack Torrance all over everybody and everything.
My wife would be so mad at me if I paid for an Airbnb for 3 days to do nothing, to just basically not be home with her and the dogs.
Yeah. Yay. Well, that all being said, so you are a Stephen King connoisseur?
Yeah.
How did you stumble upon his works when you were a kid?
So I was a book kid. I started reading at a very early age. I was a smart kid. I was put in the gifted program in 1st grade, which I was the first kid in my school to do that. So.
Okay.
And once I had discovered books, that was like all I ever wanted to do. I carried 3 books around at all times. I had the book I was reading, I had the book I was going to read next, and then I had the book I was going to read if I finished both of those books in the same day, which I did all the time.
Okay.
Like I would go, like if I went to a basketball game with my parents, I was reading a book. If I went to church, I was reading a book. If I went to my grandparents' house, every picture of me is just me reading a book.
Okay.
I was a middle child, so nobody paid attention to me, so I just did whatever I wanted to.
I see.
And so I read like every book in my grade school library by the time I was in like 3rd grade.
Okay.
And so they just started letting me go to the junior and high school library. It was the same school because I lived in a very small town, much like Stephen King. And I read like the Goosebumps books. Loved those. I read like R.L. Stine, Fear Street in like 5th grade. Loved those. And then the librarian, he gave me Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King.
Oh, a Stephen King book.
Yeah,
Okay.
the first Stephen King book. And I read that and I was like, this is real horror. It was the first book that like honestly scared me. And I was like, does this guy have any other books? And he was like, he does. And he showed me just this shelf of all these big, thick, black books with this guy's name on. I was like, oh my God. And so, you know, I'm like 13 years old, and I just started reading all of these Stephen King books. And you shouldn't do that, but that's like every Stephen King fan. We all started reading them too early.
Yeah.
And so you're reading all these like lurid, you know, descriptive, horrific, sexy books. And you're learning all these things you shouldn't be learning at that age. And you just love them. And he was writing books like twice a year at that point. Like he was writing so many books that in like the late 90s that his publisher's like, you need to stop writing so many books. You're oversaturating the market. Like people can't read these books as fast as you're writing them. So he started writing books under a different name so he could keep writing books. Like that's how prolific he was at that point.
But he had it to have that instant gratification of publishing them too. He couldn't just like wait a year and just like have his
I don't know if you got this in reading The Shining. Stephen King is an addict.
Yes.
He like gets addicted to everything he does, including writing. So yeah, he just wanted to just push out books as fast as he could.
Was that in tandem with other addiction, or to help get away
I picture
from
him
another
at that
addiction?
point. I think at that point he was no longer doing like cocaine. I don't think he was drinking as much at that point either, but I think he was still like smoking and stuff. And I just picture him just sitting there, just like typing with one hand and just like chain smoking Pall Malls with the other hand, you know, just pushing out as much content as he could.
Gosh, he would have done great on just like Instagram.
Like you think he tweets a lot now? I can't even imagine. So I had this thing. I got banned from the public library in my town by the time I was like 12 because I never returned books. And you're a librarian, and I understand. I didn't not return them because like out of malice. I just wanted to read the books again. Because like I would read a book and then like 2 weeks later be like, I'm going to read that one again, you know, because I liked it so much. And so I just had to start buying the Stephen King books because I couldn't just keep checking them out over and over again. And so my aunt, who lived in Ulysses, Kansas, there was this really good used bookstore down there. And so anytime she saw like a Stephen King book, she would just buy it for me. And she would just ship me these boxes of books of Stephen King or things that looked like Stephen King. Anything with like a monster on the cover or anything that looked like it was scary at all, she would send me. So I was just reading all of these like horror paperback books just as fast as she could send them to me. So I had such a great collection. And I would read them to tatters, and I would like fix them with like electrical tape and read them again.
Do you still have them?
No, most of those got destroyed or left at my mom's house. And so now I've been rebuying like my whole collection. Like every time I go visit a town, like for comedy or anything, I look for the used bookstores and I look for hardback Stephen King books and try to like complete my collection. I have probably all but like 7 Stephen King books in hardback now.
Nice. You will give me that list, and I will help you procure the rest of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
My birthday's coming up in 359 days.
Hi, I'm Jill. I'm a comedian and a yoga teacher and an improviser and a coach and all of the things. Any time that I can help people feel comfortable and brave doing the things that they do in class or on stage, I'm usually somebody that is helping do that here in Kansas City. And I'm also in school to be a librarian. So I am also grew up as books were my friend person.
Who needs real friends?
But mine was more of a, I did read Goosebumps. I did read, I don't even know if Fierce was a thing. I'm trying to remember. I do remember reading some Goosebump books, and I watched like Are You Afraid of the Dark, which I think those have like graphic novels now, but I don't think that was a thing.
Oh, did you read the greatest children's horror book of all time, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
I had those read to me. They were very scary.
Yeah.
And so there's like 3 volumes of that now.
Yeah.
But I grew up mostly with like Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High because I was a girl.
I read those also.
Yeah.
I was equal opportunity on books.
So
I remember the twin language still.
Yeah. See, I don't remember. So I read books so fast that if anybody asked me about the content, I can never tell them what a book was about. I was really bad at book reports. So this is going to be a great trip. But but it's always vibes. Like
Yeah.
I either liked it or I didn't like it. And then, but I have a very like core reading memory of when I went to middle school or junior high. We had a junior high, where there was homeroom for the first time, and my homeroom was in the school library. And I would just go and sit by myself early and read Dave Barry books. Dave Barry was my favorite writer when I was 12. And so Dave Barry, if you don't know.
You've just always been like a 45-year-old librarian.
Yes. So Dave Barry is a humor columnist at the Miami Herald. And he's put together all of these books over the years that have been various like essays and things that
He had a
written.
sitcom in the 90s that Harry Anderson played like a version of him in.
Yeah, with the really fun song that I can't remember in this context, but I loved it. But yeah, but I would just be sitting by myself in the library just laughing out loud. And I loved Dave Barry so much that I sent him a letter. He did not write back. But I was like, that's how he really helped form my sense of humor, I think, of like not punching down and just making fun of how we just are as people and like the habits we have as people. And he wrote like about his dog a lot and stuff too, and how dumb his dog was and just things like that. I love a delightful dog in a story. So anyway, so that was a lot of like the reading that I did. Was
my version of that was there was a staff writer for the David Letterman show who, after each show, he would write like a blog where he would talk about the guests, like what they wore and what they talked about, and then he would publish the top 10. And I would print that out and take it to school with me and read that during lunch. Like it was my newspaper, you know, like I'd pull it out of my pocket and, guys, I got to read the top 10, hold on.
So Letterman, so in high school, I didn't have a computer at home, and we had to take a lot of computer classes, and I was just getting used to the internet for the first time. And Letterman had a website, and they would let you, like, you could submit your own like they would do a thing, and then you would type in the top 10. I submitted those like all the time. I would go to like computer class, go on that site, and just like fill out. Try to tell jokes on the Dave Letterman website. Nothing was ever picked. I wasn't funny. I've always been an appreciator of comedy, but I didn't get my jokes together until I was older. So yeah, so my reading history was drama, like relationship drama and comedy. And that was, I remember, memorizing stuff for like oral interp and like audition pieces, and it was like Ellen's book.
Is this before she came out or after?
I can't remember. It must have been before. It was like the original book she put out. I don't remember, but yeah.
It's called like Ellen. I like boys, of course. Who doesn't?
Yeah. So anywho, gosh, what a bunch of memories we're gonna unlock through this process.
Oh, speaking of David Letterman, we did a variety show my junior year of high school, and it was like decades. So we did like 70s, 80s, and 90s, because that's as far as we were. And I played David Letterman, and I wrote my own top 10 list, and it was very funny.
Yeah.
And but then I got suspended because some of the girls in our class did a Spice Girls routine, and I made a lewd comment about them afterwards.
Well, good. I'm glad you got in trouble for that.
I was 17.
I was 37.
It was a different time.
It's true. So, anyway, so fast forward to...
But no Stephen King for you then.
Yeah, no, not until a year ago. So, I had seen The Shining because Tim and I, my partner and I, were going through a phase of just like watching fucked up movies. And he recommended The Shining as one of them. And so I vaguely remembered the movie, but what I mostly remember is it in context of everything that has parodied it since then. So we'll talk about that later. But
one of the nicest things, though, about being a Stephen King fan is the fact that he has continued to write books like at least once a year for the last 25 years of my life, I've gotten to enjoy a new Stephen King book. You know, and not all of them are great. He went through a period where he wrote a lot of books just about writers whose wives died, and then they went off and had sex with younger women.
Yeah.
He was going through a phase. This was after he got hit by a van and almost died. And then he went through a phase where he just really wanted to write books about detectives and stuff. So
I'm looking forward to those.
yeah,
I love a good crime novel.
but every Stephen King book has something that I like about them. He's a unique writer. He just really writes fun characters and engaging stories. He doesn't care about fancy prose. He's not trying to impress anyone. He just wants to tell a good story.
Yeah, and he tells it for a very long time.
He does not care about editing, and no one can tell him how long a book needs to be.
Yeah.
And when you're the #1 best-selling author of all time, that's just what you get to do.
Yeah. Well, cool. Any other backstory or history that you want to cover?
We'll talk about some Stephen King's facts as we talk about the book.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yay. So our book that we read to kick off our Stephen King discussion is The Shining.
The Shining.
Because it was the book that I had in my house.
I think The Shining stands pretty tall in the Stephen King pantheon. I would put it in probably the top 2. I think maybe the top 3. I think The Shining, It, and The Stand, I would say, are the big 3 Stephen King books, and then maybe The Dark Tower would be up that would be the Mount Rushmore of Stephen King books.
Okay.
If you call The Dark Tower one collective.
Gotcha.
The Shining, though, is so linked to the movie in a way that nothing else really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah. So I thought we would start with an improv game, a line game that we play, where it's called Explain a Movie Poorly, but we'll do it as a book because we read the book. So hopefully you all have read the book. If you haven't, pause it real quick.
Read the book.
There's going to be spoilers. Just so you know, we're going to spoil the fuck out of this book. So we'll explain The Shining poorly, and so we'll just take turns saying The Shining is a story about, and then just explain something very poorly about it.
The Shining is a book about a father who begins to believe that his employer actually wanted to hire his son.
That was really close to the one that I had.
Should have gone first.
I know. I'll still say mine anyway, and then we can always edit it out if we don't want it. So The Shining is a story about a grown-ass man who's jealous that the house is haunting his son instead of him.
The Shining is a book about a wife who realizes maybe her husband should be drinking.
The Shining is a story where a kid named Tony needs to get a life.
The Shining is a book about a cook who never should have gone back to work.
Yep. The Shining is an instructional video on elevator repair.
The Shining is a cautionary tale about how hard writing is.
The Shining is a story about the impact of snow in your quest for. I just say playground activity, but it's not funny. It's not funny. I guess they don't have to all be good.
Yeah, that's fine. The Shining is a book about the importance of cable television.
The Shining is a story about how it is probably a good idea to delegate your job responsibilities so you're not the only one that knows how to do it.
I think that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were 2 good ones in there.
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about that. All right. So what we'll do, I think, to talk about this book. So I loved it so this is the second Stephen King book that I've ever read. The first one I read was Needful Things, which was also just a really nice, I would say they're all nice intros to Stephen King because they all make sense and tell good stories, but maybe they're just all like that. I don't know, but the content was easily digestible. I understood the story, I understood what was happening, and so I tend to appreciate that, and I love books with supernatural elements in it, and I don't know if Stephen King writes a lot of supernatural or if it's mostly just people being monsters, or if there's like a little bit of everything in his
Early
books.
Stephen King is almost all supernatural.
Okay.
Yeah, later on he starts getting into more just like people can just be evil without needing outside forces on them. But yeah, most of his early stuff is all just like comes from out there.
Okay. And what I learned, so I knew nothing about the book, only what I had learned watching the movie, and so we're gonna.
Yeah, we both watched the movie this weekend also.
Yeah, so it's
because there was
fresh.
nothing else to do because we were snowed in.
Yeah, and I will probably spend a lot of time today, like talking about how struck I am about how different, and this is specifically Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, the original 1980 movie, but what we don't know from the movie is that there's like 200 pages of book before they even get to the hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I thought maybe for the sake of adding the context, we could talk about that before we get to the hotel and the horror and the stuff where it really crosses over with the movie. And so we know that it kind of opens, so the story opens with Jack at his interview.
Yeah,
right?
Mr. Ullman, the officious little prick. Such a fun phrase that he repeats it over and over again. Hammers it home for you.
Yeah. And so we know that Jack has gotten fired from a previous job, and that
because he beat the shit out of a student.
Yes, which we didn't find out until like 100 pages in. They kept alluding to it the whole time, but we finally
because you're getting it from Jack's perspective, and Jack in Jack's mind is a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he is a really messed up narrator. That's
and that's a common theme in Stephen King books.
Yes.
He's very good at making you sympathetic to his villains.
And that they drop a lot of clues about where the story is going to go in this first scene, and I think in hopes that we will kind of maybe forget that some of it got mentioned so that it can come back around to the end. But we know,
which is an improviser, I appreciate.
Yes.
That's it's the best way to make an audience think you're smart. Best way to make readers think you're smart.
So he's in the interview with Mr. Ullman, and so we learn in that interview that he was fired from the previous job, that he's going to be the winter caretaker at this place. So they shut down. They're very busy.
And by winter, they mean October to May.
Yeah, I think September even was when they moved in. Yeah. So they shut down early for the year, and the winter caretaking is, because it's such an old building, it's maintaining just like the boiler. That's a big part of it.
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah, so I'm going to put a pin in the boiler for a second because I have some feelings about that. But they set up that he has like this kind of daily task of like making sure the boiler's not going to explode, trimming the topiary animals.
She's got to shingle the roof.
She's got to shingle the roof at some point, and then
heat different sections of the hotel on different days.
Yes, so a lot of logistics of just keeping the building safe, while they know they're going to get snowed in and probably lose contact with the town.
Basically, you're going to be isolated for months up there.
And is that also when we learn about Grady's family?
Yeah.
Was that in that? So there was a previous caretaker who went insane and murdered his wife and his son, is what the book says. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Again, more things to talk about in a minute. Yep. So there has been cabin fever in the past that he warns them about, but they really think it's a good opportunity because he can't, he got fired from his job. His buddy that he had, did Al work at the school with him too, or was that a
Al's
college
on
buddy?
the board of directors for the school.
Okay.
And he's also on the board of directors for the owners group of the hotel. Al's a very high up man. Al's just on a bunch of boards,
Yes.
Al's just a mover and a shaker.
So Al hooked him up with this job because they knew each other. Was it? So in the movie they were in Denver, but that wasn't where they were in the book, was it? Or was it? Were they in Denver?
Like where they live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that
Yeah, they're in
that
the
makes
apartments in Denver there.
That's right. Okay. For some reason, Maine was on my mind because everything's in Maine, usually.
Mostly, yeah.
So
They end up in Maine.
yeah. So that's what it is.
Yeah.
And so that interview happens. He's like, great, I need to finish writing my play because that's when we make money, is when I'm actually publishing things. Because he seems like he's a fairly accomplished like short story writer, and like he'd
had like some success. Like he'd published like some stories and stuff, which like doesn't seem that successful. I've published short stories. Like,
but they didn't have the blogosphere, right,
yeah,
in the 70s.
I guess
so
everybody couldn't just be a writer and
Yeah.
just put it out on the internet.
Yeah. Because if that were the case, I was a writer in the late 90s, and all my angst
I won a short
online.
story contest in 3rd grade.
Oh.
Very smart kid, Jill.
Yeah, I get it. No, I got tested for the gifted program, and they're like, no, thank you.
Nice try.
Okay, so anyway.
But Mr. Ullman doesn't want to hire him. Like, the only reason he really does is because Al, his higher up buddy, his drinking buddy, is like pushing him to do this. Like, we got to give this guy a job.
Yeah. So, and it's a shitty job.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and then it cuts back to the apartment where Wendy, the mom, and Danny, the son, are waiting for him to come back, and we're learning right away that Danny knows things that are happening that his parents don't know how he knows, and that we also learn that there was also an incident with Danny where Jack was very drunk, and Danny had got into his room and spilled beer on his book that he was writing.
His papers, yeah.
And then he yanked his arm and broke his arm, and so that was like the impetus for him stopping drinking, I think.
Yeah.
Finally. And so he's sober at the time that the story starts, and we already know about Tony. So Tony is like the little, like in the movie he's like, but that's not a thing in the book.
No.
Tony is just some is it
in the book he kind of goes into a fugue state, and he sees Tony like in the distance. He's like an older boy that shows Danny things. And sometimes there are things that happen, sometimes there are things that don't happen, but there are always things that are like sort of in the future. And Danny always just kind of goes into this like sort of trance and then comes out of it.
Yeah.
And it's happened enough that his parents are just kind of used to it.
Yeah.
Like they don't take him to the doctor every time it happens anymore. And sometimes he tells his parents about things, but he's kind of gotten to the point now where they don't want him to talk about it, and he understands that. So he just kind of keeps it to himself now.
Yeah.
And he's like a 5-year-old kid, and he's smart enough to already to like figure that out.
Yes.
Danny's going into the gifted program.
Yes. If he ever makes it to school.
If he gets to go to a school, yeah.
Of course, his school at the hotel, he's first in his class.
Absolutely.
No matter what. So, but we already know about Red Rum as well.
Yeah,
like,
Red Rum gets introduced right away.
Yeah, like Tony already says Red Rum to him all the time, but because it's always verbal.
Well, he doesn't know how to read yet.
He doesn't know how to read yet.
He knows he wants to know how to read. Like, he can read, like, a few words, but that's, like, his main thing is he wants to learn how to read so he can understand all these things that Tony is showing him. Like, he knows he needs to understand these things, but Tony can't tell him what they mean because he doesn't have the basis of understanding to figure it out yet.
Yeah. And so whenever he's like, I don't know, just Red Rum, and they're like, Red Drum? Because nobody's writing it down. They don't know what it looks like, so they don't. So we know about Red Rum.
And Jack's
right
like, I'm a gin man. I don't drink rum, you know?
Yes. So there's like a lot of things that we know, but it's also just a lot of internal, like we get to see the perspective from all, like the point of view of all of them at some point, and how they are dealing with the fact that they almost got divorced, but they never talked about it, but Danny knew it.
Yeah.
And they were like,
Danny's the only one saying the word.
Yeah. So considering he can't read, he is the one that actually communicates and uses words that they're having hard time saying to each other. And so...
But they're all at a point of, like, desperation. Like, they have no other option but to take this job. Like, no one's going to hire him. His only experience is teaching and writing. He's not writing anything, so he doesn't have anything to sell. No one's going to hire him to teach because he just beat the shit out of a kid.
Yeah. And
so it's either they go there, or as he says, like, he's, like, pumping gas at a gas station for minimum wage or something.
Which could have been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, what did they sell at the gas station?
Or they go live with like her horrible mother.
Yeah, and so we learn, I think, through flashback, through narration, kind of throughout the book, is that all of their families are abusive in some way or another. His dad was very physically abusive. He's the one, so it didn't come up in the movie, but you have to take your medicine. Yeah. Like that came from his dad. And
yeah, you get so much about his dad, like just a monster.
Yeah, just and it just repeats and repeats, and he keeps coming back. So that whole, like, he's kind of slowly, like, his descent into madness is him, like, becoming his father too. And so a lot of the things that he
starts to see Wendy as his mother.
Yeah. And
who at first he has complete compassion for, and completely he's like on her side whenever he's remembering his childhood. And then as the hotel starts to get its hooks into him, he starts to be like, well, you know, now that I think about it, she kind of was asking for it, you know?
Yeah. And then Wendy is her kind of internal struggle, besides her mom being terrible, is that she wishes Danny trusted her and loved her more, because she's the one that always cares for him, but he always runs to Dad whenever there's something wrong. Yeah. And so there's,
even though Dad broke his arm when he was 2 years old.
Yeah. And so it's that I don't think they really explain like why that was the case, but just is he a kid?
Yeah. So, Stephen King fact. When Stephen King was 4 years old, Stephen King grew up very poor. His dad left when he was 2. His dad literally said he was going to go get cigarettes one day and just walked away. Like, that's like the first man to do that. Left his mother and his 2 sons.
Every other dad was like, I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah. Genius! His dad, whose last name was originally not King, he changed it from Pollock to King just like on a whim. Just like, I don't want to be a Pollock anymore. Like, probably to escape creditors or something, you know? So Stephen King, he's 4 years old. His mother had basically been like moving from like family member to family member all throughout like Indiana, Chicago, Wisconsin, eventually to Maine, where he spent most of his childhood. And when Stephen King's like 4 years old, he had been playing at a friend's house, and he just like walked home by himself. And his mom's like, why are you here? Like, why didn't your friend's mom walk you home? What happened? And he watched his friend get hit by a train and die. And he couldn't talk about it. And he never had a memory of it. Like, he blocked it from himself. And so I think there's a lot of that in Danny as this like child who's just like experiencing all this trauma at such a young age, and just like internalizing it, not being able to like talk, like going into that coma sort of stage every time something like that happens. There.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I should have said fun fact.
Yeah.
Terrible fact about why Stephen King is the way he is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like repressed trauma coming to light, like things that they're doing that like the narration is telling us is coming from earlier life trauma, but maybe in the moment they don't recognize that that's how it's manifesting. And yeah, just a lot of like gaslighting and like trying to, like when something horrifying is happening, trying to get them to say, no, that wasn't what happened. This is probably what happened. And then like just constantly gaslighting each other. Yeah. And gaslighting themselves too, to like try to talk themselves out of believing something that happened.
And I think part of it's also just like rationalization. Like they're just trying to convince themselves so they can do the thing they know they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of trauma. That sets them all up very precariously to be trapped in a hotel with just each other for support. And so then they drive to the hotel on closing day. Does that sound good, like a good transition for that? So they're driving to the hotel, the big scene of them driving around the mountain.
And their car can barely make it.
Their car barely,
Like it's like literally like dying as they go, like getting slower and slower as they approach, so they're not going to be able to leave. Yeah,
they're starting to set up that kind of direness when they get there. So there's a lot of hustle and bustle. All the staff is still there, so they get to meet the front desk person, Mr. Ullman, of course. They meet not Dick yet, but the other guy.
Walton, Bill.
Yeah.
The guy who shows them around and everything. And
the actual caretaker. Yeah. Watson.
Watson,
So Watson is the
summer caretaker.
Yeah, the summer caretaker who has a lot more fun at it, probably. because he ever gets to leave. And so he gets the tour of the boiler and just all of the places that, and the different heating and cooling activities he'll have to do. Tells him to fix the roof again and where to do that.
Yeah.
And then Wendy and gets taught the kitchen because obviously
That's the woman's place.
yeah. So that's where they meet Dick Halloran.
Yeah.
And he's the cook, so he sets up. They're like, we've got food in the cooler for the whole 6 months. So you don't have to worry about shopping or anything like that.
And there's food for like 1,000 people in there.
Yeah. And so that all seems great. Wendy will have something to do this whole time. And then when Danny and Dick connect to each other, they realize they both have this premonition thing that they labeled The Shining. And so that is...
Because that's what Dick's grandma called it.
Mm-hmm. So they just made it up and just realized, Danny was able to realize he wasn't the only person who had those kind of premonitions, but then they also learned that they could communicate with each other without talking if they needed. And so Dick was like...
Stephen King calls it The Shining. He took that from a lyric from Instant Karma by John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Mm-hmm. We all shine on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you think they were talking about ESP in the song?
No, I don't. Stephen King loves to, at the beginning of the book, there's the big section from the Mask of the Red Death from Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
And then there's song lyrics. He loves to put song lyrics at the beginning of his books that he feels like relate to the themes of the book. That's something you'll see in almost all of his books there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so imagine Danny, this kid who's had this like thing in his head that he's been told by his parents, essentially to like, don't tell anyone about this. This is weird. This is strange. Hide this. And then Dick's like, no, this is great. You're amazing. You have this special power.
And he also gives Danny the rundown about how the hotel is haunted.
Yeah, he's like, by the way, this place is bad.
This place is bad, but the things that you see aren't real and they probably can't hurt you.
Yeah, they're like pictures in a book.
Yeah, they're like pictures in a book. And so if you just close your eyes and look away, then they'll go away. So that he helped Danny manage that right away. So all those conversations were had. So basically, we knew exactly what was going to be happening in this hotel. We actually we got set up for the end of the book very nicely. And then the movie did none of it.
Yeah.
That's what happened there. So anyway, I think that's where we can maybe start to talk about the movie, unless there's anything else, or at least integrate what the movie did with it versus what the book did with it, maybe is like a conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
thrower.
The book does. You get a bunch of the stuff about the play that Jack's writing in the first half there.
Yeah, that's like, it sounded like a Death of a Salesman kind of play.
Kind of, yeah.
In my mind.
It's the story of what happened to him at Stovington, kind of. So what happened to him at Stovington was he was teaching like English because he was a writer. And he was coaching their debate team. And it was a prep school in like Vermont. So it was all like rich kids, and Jack grew up very poor.
That's why I think they're still in Vermont, but they left
Yeah,
and went
they
all
had
the way
to
to
leave
Denver.
Vermont, yeah.
Gotcha.
And Jack grew up very poor, so he was like, he doesn't ever say it, but you can feel that he's very resentful of these kids. And there's this one kid in particular who was like the jock, like the head of like the lacrosse team and the rugby team, and everybody liked him, and he was Mr. Popular. And he was on the debate team, and Jack hates him.
Yeah.
And so, in Jack's mind, at least, in the way he's telling the story, this kid, whenever he would debate, he had a stutter. And every time he would start debating, he would start stuttering. And so Jack had to cut him from the team. And this kid threw a fit, and he's like, "You're just cutting me because you hate me and you're jealous of me and all this and that." And Jack caught him slashing the tires on his car, and he just went into like a white rage and beat the crap out of him. And another teacher, a lady, had to like pull him off of him, and he got fired, obviously, and ran out of town.
Yeah.
And so he's writing this play about a teacher, who has this like young mentor who's writing a book or something, and the teacher's jealous of him, and it's just basically the same story, but where the teacher is like the hero of it instead.
Yeah. Was Stephen King ever a teacher and a debate coach?
Yes. He was a college professor.
So it was a story of a story of a
Yeah.
story? He didn't beat up a kid, I hope.
Not that I know of, no. And then they also get you get so many chapters dedicated to just Jack reminiscing about all the good times he had drinking with his buddy Al.
I know,
Al.
Al is non-existent in the movie, right?
No, Al, you never mention Al. You never get any story about how he's got this job or anything. And Mr. Ullman in the movie is so nice to Jack.
Yeah.
He's so happy to have him there to want this job.
Yeah.
He's so different from how he is in the book.
Yeah, he's a evil little pig in the
Yeah.
in the book, if I remember correctly. So
A vicious little prick.
yeah.
And in the movie, he's like, "Hey, Jack, come on in here. Yeah, you want a drink? You want some coffee?"
Yeah.
And Jack's just like, Jack Nicholson's like, "Oh yeah, happy to be here. I'm gonna put my feet on your desk."
Yeah. I will say, watching, like, knowing Jack Torrance's personality and like everything that got to that point, I think Jack Nicholson did such a great creepy job. I really appreciated him as this character who was, he played him like an absolute piece of shit who still had a really high opinion of himself, even though he kept getting fired from so many, like doing such a bad job, but still so confident and I don't, like, he just like played that balance really well of still trying to have pride.
Just like a 80s Reagan era man. I can only fail upwards. Well, and that kind of goes to one of the things Stephen King has said over and over again about why he doesn't like that adaptation is the book is about watching this guy go from a regular man being turned by this hotel into this sort of demented, angry manifestation of the demons in the hotel. And he says the second you see Jack Nicholson on that screen, this is already a crazy person.
Yes.
This is already just a madman who's just waiting to burst out,
Yeah.
Like you never look at him and be like, oh, this is just a nice normal dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, why isn't Danny terrified of him right away?
Yeah.
Like even in the car ride when they're driving up the hill, he's just being a dick.
Yeah.
He's just already like put out. You never see him being nice to Wendy at all. You never see him being nice to Danny.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot more emotional journey and like backtracking after you did something bad and like or mean or whatever. Like there was a lot more guilt.
Like Jack spends at least 2/3 of the book trying to be a good dad. Like I think trying to be a good husband. Like he's trying his best, and he has these outside forces that are pushing him back to the man he was before.
But because the movie didn't really explore any of that,
No.
there was no reason for that kind of depth in that character. So I think him kind of just being a piece of shit, quickly losing his fucking mind, like it worked.
One of the other choices that Kubrick was considering for that role was Robin Williams, who I think would have played it very differently.
Yeah.
But I think would have given a much more sympathetic performance.
Yes. Yes.
Like he wouldn't have given the crazy at the end nearly as well, but I think he would have given a much more like, you'd be like, you feel bad for him at the end when he's like going crazy and trying to kill them.
Yeah. Gosh, did Robin Williams ever get to play a crazy murderer?
Yeah. 1 Hour Photo and Insomniac. He plays villains in both of those, and he does a good job. He gives like restrained performances.
Gosh, what a good guy.
And then he did a Law and Order SVU. Everybody does a Law and Order SVU where they
I
get
know.
to play
I'm
a
waiting
villain.
for my call. I'm waiting for my call. That's where everybody starts.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, the chapters about Jack and Al are where I think you really get into how much of an addict Stephen King was. Because he luxuriates in describing how fun it is to just be drunk with your buddy, just being irresponsible, just driving down the road, blacked out of your mind, knowing you're being irresponsible and not caring about it. Because Stephen King was so addicted to everything. Stephen King, I can't imagine doing cocaine with him. Like, he was such a nerd. He was raised in this, like, schoolhouse where there were only, like, 10 kids going to school in, like, the entire town, And then he goes off to, like, college. And just imagine like the first time someone's like, "Hey Stevie, you want to try some of this?" And he's like, "What is it?" Like, "It's cocaine." And he's like, "Oh, this is fantastic.
I'm gonna write $5.
Hey guys." And just imagine how annoying he would have been. Just this goofy fucking guy with these big glasses, like, "Hey guys, what about a car that kills people, huh?" And then like, "Hey Steve, you want to try one of these? What is that?" "It's a cigarette." "Oh, I'm gonna smoke 15,000 of these." "Hey Steve, try this." "What is beer?" "I want to drink 1,000,000 of these." Like, he just had no control over anything because he'd never been around anything like that. And so he was just like, "This is all fantastic." He's like there's a Futurama episode where Bender gets turned into a human being.
Oh.
It's like a what if episode.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that was Stephen King. Every time he found any vice, like, he's just like, "I'm gonna do it forever."
Oh, well, that's good.
He's just like a puppy discovering a bag of cocaine, Just like.
Well, that's good. That's good context
Yeah.
for him. So yeah. So I think they close. So another couple of plot points that happened in the book that didn't make it to the movie. There were like three other kind of big ones. There was like so Danny had been having premonitions about the roof. I remember, like, he knew that the shingles had to get replaced, and so they had the scene of Jack replacing the shingles, and then the wasps happen.
The wasps, yes.
And so the wasps,
Which would have been such a fun scene in the movie.
yeah, that was the kind of the first introduction to the idea of horror happening at the hotel, and it did not get covered.
Yeah,
in the
you
movie
get the
all.
scene because Jack gets the wasp's nest and he uses the bomb on it, and so he thinks all the wasps are dead. And so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna put this in my son's room. What kid doesn't want to have a wasp nest next to their bed? That's every boy's dream."
He's a great dad. He's a great.
This is when he's still trying.
Yeah.
and Danny does like it. He's like, "Oh, this is cool." And they go to bed, and immediately, Danny wakes up screaming because there's like wasps stinging him on his arm.
Yeah.
And Jack gets like his some toy or something and starts trying to swat them and gets Danny out of the room. And then he puts like a clear like Tupperware over it, and like 1,000,000 wasps come out of this nest.
Yes.
Which would have been so cool to see.
And then his answer was, "I'm gonna sue that bug bomb company."
He's like, "I gotta go call a lawyer." This isn't my fault.
I'm glad that wasn't the plot of the book. Like, I'm glad they moved on
The whole
from
thing
that
is just
very quickly.
litigation.
It
Cut
was
to a court scene.
law and order. So,
But that's where then they take him to the doctor. Because he wants to get evidence. But Wendy wants to check on her son because she's a loving parent. And that's when the doctor, they do the test and everything, and you get more information about his fugue state and Tony and everything. And instead, you get the scene in the movie where they go to the doctor just because Danny had like gone into a fugue Tony state or something instead. And that's where you find out that Jack had pulled his arm out of the shoulder out of the sock, dislocated his shoulder or something instead. When he got drunk and angry, and he would have been sober for 5 months in the movie versus like years in the book.
yeah. So anyway, so the wasps were like important, but I'm also glad that they were done. They did not come up anymore else in the book.
That is another Stephen King childhood memory. He remembers when he was like 6 or 7 playing, and he picked up a cinder block, and it fell apart, and there was a wasp nest on the inside, and he got stung like on his ear and his face like 5 or 6 times.
No, hate that.
And he's like, that's something that's just stuck with him his whole life. So.
Well, I'm glad it wasn't a My Girl situation.
Yeah.
And then we got to keep getting his books. And then the other thing that is a really big part of the book that didn't make it to the movie is that part of the hotel starting to draw him in was to take him into the basement, and he got obsessed with looking at articles that were like the history of the hotel.
Yeah.
And like learning about the people who used to own it and the parties they used to have that would make the news, and then ultimately murders that happened. And he was really trying to, he decided he was going to like write a book about the place.
Yeah, there's just like these piles of like newspapers and like stuff down there, like anytime they're just throwing stuff down there, I guess.
Yeah, but he had mentioned.
But then he finds like somebody's like scrapbook that somebody has put together for him.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
somebody like
The house put together.
the house
for
put
him.
together. Yeah, the house is keeping its own history. The house,
Yes.
wants a memory book for itself.
Yeah, and so there's just also a lot of really long scenes of him being like, I need to go do something. And then him like running down and reading more articles.
Because he's supposed to be just releasing the boiler.
Yes.
Because the boiler is his main job, is
Yes.
keeping the hotel from exploding.
Yes.
That's the main reason why he's there.
Yes.
He has to release the boiler like every 6 or 7 hours. And so he has to go down there, but then he just starts spending so many hours down there, neglecting his family,
Yes.
reading about the history of the different owners of the hotel. And so you have to read them also because that's part of the book.
Yes.
And you think it's going to be important. Because why else would you be reading all of these pages and pages of history of like tiny little newsprint that they put in the book for you?
Yeah. It's kind of relevant later, but not in any way you couldn't have just figured out on your own too.
Yeah. I will say, I listened to the book this time on audiobook because I had to travel to Tulsa for Christmas with my dad's family. And so that was like 8 hours of driving. So I was just like, I'm going to knock out like half this book in one day. I have read The Shining like 6 times. So.
Yeah, I know.
But a lot of it, but it's been like 15 years since I've read it probably. So having someone else read those to me was much easier than reading those myself.
Yeah. That's also just generally how I like to do audiobooks, is like a story that I already know in case I...
This was my first audiobook I've ever listened to.
Did you like the narrator?
I refused to say read. I listened to it. I did like the narrator. It was Campbell Scott.
Okay.
I liked everything except for when he would do Dick Halloran.
Oh no.
It seemed a little problematic.
Yeah.
I understood he had to do it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. In the movie, he never goes to the boiler. It's Wendy's job.
Yeah, Wendy's out there doing it. She's got the
down there,
checklist.
she's got a clipboard. She's doing the things,
and she does it once.
And she does it once in the whole movie.
Wendy does a lot of work in the movie, actually. Jack does no work.
No.
Jack is either typing or like playing ball, just fucking around. Like
Yeah.
he does absolutely no work in that movie at all. He basically checks in, puts his bags in the room, like, I'm out.
Yep. Yeah. And he has his whole office set up in the lobby.
Yeah.
Like everything that happens in just like day to day. And so first of all, what I did love about the hotel, the Stanley Hotel is what the actual hotel was. Is that right? So it's Overlook in the book, but it's the Stanley Hotel was the physical, and the rooms, it was so beautiful, like the old retro, like 70s, like colors and carpets and everything. It was
wallpaper,
I just loved.
yeah.
I loved staring at all of it, and all the rooms were so cool. But most of the action of the day-to-day life was them just hanging out in the lobby.
Yeah.
And so that's where the typewriter was. He had this big table where his little typewriter was there. The TV was out there, and was still working. Did they even mention them watching TV in the book? I don't feel like that came up in the book.
They had TVs in every room in the movie. Like, no matter where they were, there was a TV there. Like,
yeah, but there was no mention of the.
But
But again,
even when they're like eating dinner in like the kitchen, like sitting around on like the working station, like they had a TV in there also.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so then we start to, so now that they're there, they're settled. He fixed the shingles right away. Another job that he had that was not addressed. So in the movie, there's the maze, the big maze that I hate, the hedge maze that I hate.
Why do you hate mazes?
I have this existential angst of not being able to get out of one because my orientation is so like messed up that because we had a maze at one of our kind of amusement park. Whatever you would call like a playland, where it's like an amusement park, but it doesn't have the rides. It's just like the theme. It's like a theme park without the rides. We had one because L. Frank Baum lived in my hometown for like a year. So we had like this storybook land that was mostly about the Wizard of Oz. But then a whole bunch of storybooks were in there, and then there just happened to be a maze.
Okay.
It was a wooden maze, but
Did you get lost in it when you were 4 years old?
not when I was 4, but I definitely like would get abandoned in them. Like friends would go in, and then they would all get out and leave, and I would just be like stuck in a maze.
Because you were reading a book?
Probably.
Like, guys?
So,
See, growing up in Kansas, corn mazes were a regular like Halloween occurrence. You would always go to a corn maze with your friends. I loved them.
Hate it.
Because it felt like just like a puzzle to me, like a logic problem.
Yeah, it's too existential. Like if it's an inside maze, I'm a little bit okay with it, but if it's outside at all, I'm like, just like, I mean, it ends like my nightmare is just dying in the maze and then like nobody like finding you or whatever.
So if you're like watching a mouse in a maze, are you just like picking it up immediately and just like rescuing it?
Well, I can solve it from above.
Okay.
I'm smarter than a mouse.
You want to be in control.
Yeah. So anyway, but in the book, it's not a maze. It's actually just a topiary garden.
Topiary animals, yeah.
And so it's like part of his job is to trim them into their shapes.
Which, like, he doesn't have any experience doing that. Like, that can't just be an easy thing to do.
I feel like they don't get paid enough for all the different jobs they make them.
But also, he has like 9 months.
Mm-hmm. So
like, I guess he can just figure it out.
Yeah, and so we learned.
And so I understand though why Kubrick decided not to do the topiary animals, because like they would have looked stupid.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of effects.
That in 1980 would, the way they made the...
It would just be me in a hedge outfit.
The way they made the hedge maze, those are just like chicken wire with just like, you know, hedgy looking stuff on the outside of them. Then they shot them with a lens that's like a 90-degree lens from down, so they look much taller than they actually are.
Gotcha.
So it was very much cheaper to make than...
Well, if I could see over the top of the maze, I wouldn't hate it
there
as
you
much.
Go. That's not a maze then. That's just...
It's a walk.
And we actually know how much better the maze is than the topiary animals, because Stephen King did us the favor in 1997 of producing his own version of The Shining, and he did the topiary animals instead, and they were goofy.
Yeah.
They are goofy as fuck.
But they are also haunted. So that was another, they were like the next big thing that happened in the book that like let us know.
And Jack sees them move. That's where you start to, but he rationalizes, he gaslights himself of like, no, that didn't happen.
A breeze blew the snow off.
That thing I just saw didn't happen.
Yeah.
We could still leave, but we're not going to.
So this is still like 2 months before any snow has happened.
Yeah.
And they're already starting to go a little weird and the hotel is starting to work its magic. So anyway, so now I want to go into, so I think those were like the main things, and then we can talk about the boiler later. We'll come back to that. But I want to kind of talk about the things that were very different between the book and the movie plot-wise. So Danny has the premonition of the bleeding elevator and the twins.
They're not twins.
Sorry, well, we call them the Shining Twins colloquially, but they were 8 and 10,
they're 8
I
and
think.
10, yeah. And when they do the close-ups, they're not even the same height.
No, but we call them the Shining Twins because they were dressed the same.
Yeah.
And they talk the same.
I find it interesting that they're British and that their dad is British. And I think that's because they shot in England, a lot of the interior stuff. And I think they just could only find British girls to be in it. So they're just like, we just got to make the dad British. He's just an English butler who happened to be the caretaker for this hotel in Colorado. Okay. We're just not going to explain why.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the book would indicate that Grady and his family came from England to caretake this hotel in Colorado.
Yeah. So.
And I forgot that detail because the first time they said, "Comply with us, Daddy," I was like, the fuck?
On Taskmaster, one of the contestants, the UK Taskmaster, one of the contestants does like a little horror film because their challenge is to make the house haunted somehow, and so she plays the twins, and I mean they're British by default because they're in the UK, but I appreciated that. But yeah, twins not even in the book.
No.
So it's a moot conversation. They weren't even in the book.
And that's one of the most iconic things. Like every iconic thing from the movie is not in the book.
Yeah, the
and
bleeding.
Maybe that's why King hates it so much.
Yeah,
He's just
the bleeding elevator, not in the book.
Nope.
The elevator is a character in the book because part of Wendy's ascent, so when descent, I guess, into madness, hers was perceiving the party. So the book is also building to like a night, December 2nd, where this party happened. I assume all the shit went down. They never really resolved it other than it was December 2nd and there was a clock counting down to midnight.
Yeah, it's like a masquerade party.
Yes.
Everybody's wearing masks.
And so Wendy starts to see when they need to use, the elevator would just start running on its own.
Well, the first time they get in the elevator, the day they arrive, closing day of the hotel, they take the elevator from the ground floor up to their room, and it's shifty as fuck.
Yeah.
And in her head, she's like, I'm never getting this thing again.
Yes.
I am taking the stairs.
Yeah. And so then later on, the elevator opens, and then there's just like party favors and masks in it, like left over from the party.
And this is still when they could leave.
Yes.
Just before the snow has come.
Yeah.
Because it's running at night, like it wakes them all up. And Jack's like, it's fine, a breaker tripped, a fuse blew, it's electrical, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And and it's like halfway up.
Yes.
And so she like climbs up and like pulls out the hat and confetti. He's like, what about this thing?
Yes.
Like, is this a breaker?
Yeah. So a lot of the action of the plot and like where it drives the tension is this build up to this clock that Danny turned back on again that seems like it's trying to keep replaying that night over and over again. But the thing that gets me, and maybe you answer this for me or you can, is so it's December 2nd, but the Overlook was closed in the winter. So why were they having why were they open in December having a party if it wasn't open in the winter?
I don't think the party that is trying to come back actually happened on December 2nd.
Okay. So
I think it's a summer party that's just building to that date is like the date that the hotel is gonna bring it back.
Gotcha. So it's the hotel's
the hotel is like siphoning energy off of Danny, off of his shining power.
Okay.
And it needs to fill its battery enough to bring all this energy back to get Jack to do what it wants it to do.
But yeah. So anyway, so the elevator, the bloody elevator, like that, I mean, the elevator was a character, but not in that way.
Fun fact about the elevator, in England, they don't allow you to show like blood like that in a movie that's like rated anything below like their version of rated X. So in their trailer, Stanley Kubrick convinced them it was rusty water.
It looked like Kool-Aid.
Yeah. It doesn't look like blood.
Yeah.
It's not viscous at all. Like,
yeah, it is like colored water.
Yeah.
Just coming through. So, yeah.
And I like how every time you see it, it's clearly just the same shot over and over again. Like they only did that. Well, it's Kubrick, so they probably did it 60 times. He made Scatman Crothers cry. Dick Halloran doing so many takes. He's like, what do you want, man? Like, I'm opening a car door. How many times can I do this?
And then like the shots of, I love all of the shots of Danny riding the tricycle around, but that also wasn't
so iconic.
Yeah, so iconic. Nothing
doesn't have that in the book.
Doesn't have that in the book, but I think I think putting kids in vehicles makes things more interesting. I remember, so this is a very big tangent. So one of the Star Wars show on Disney that where Princess Leia is a kid again. Did you ever watch that?
Obi-Wan or Kenobi.
Yeah, but one of the shows that they put on there. There was a scene where the guards were chasing her, and she's just like running through the things, and then the guards are like, oh no, she's getting away. And I'm like, no wonder they always put the kids in the speed racers, because there's just no way that this would make sense. So anyway, so putting kids in vehicles so that things can move faster is like a good... Like, I understand, like, I like that. And it got us, it really set up really beautiful shots of the hotel and just, like, all the things. I really love that. But that's not how he spent his time. He was trying to read. In the books, he was trying to read. And
he's a book kid.
Yeah, he's a book kid. Kept talking to Tony. Tony kept coming up and all the things. And so, and then...
Jack and the woman in the book, it's 237. In the movie, it's 217.
Yeah, why did they change the number of the room?
There was some reason for it. I can't remember what it was, but there was a reason why they changed it. It was something to do with the number. I don't know. There's conspiracy theories all around. There's so many conspiracy theories about the movie The Shining.
Okay.
A lot of them are linked to the conspiracy that Stanley Kubrick helped fake the moon landing.
Oh.
Which, as a former space camp counselor, is not true. I want that on the record.
You're a moon nerd, too.
I've seen moon rocks. I've seen Apollo capsules. Like, why would they spend so much money building all that just to fake it? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, in the book, the room, the forbidden room was 217, but in the movie it got turned to 237.
Yeah.
And I just assumed it because props couldn't find a 1 or something dumb like that.
And in the book, Jack is terrified of what he never actually sees get out of the tub in there. He just hears the sound of. And in the movie, he wants to fuck it.
Yes. They condensed 2 different stories from the book to make that woman. Because there was once the party started to manifest, after he meets Lloyd, the bartender.
Grinding up on her.
Yeah, so I can't remember if that was supposed to be the same woman or not. I kind of assume.
So, yeah.
So they kind of combined because they didn't really show much of the party itself. But he spent a lot more time at the party in the book.
Yeah. Drinking his Martians.
Yeah, and so that was, I'm like, I was trying to remember if I watched I'm looking at Tim, I'm like, if it was a made-for-TV, because I feel like I would remember a naked lady getting out of a tub, but I didn't remember that at all. And I'm like, did we watch a TV version of it or something?
No, the first time I watched The Shining, I was like 16 years old. It was Halloween night. 6 of us had tried to tear down the Welcome to Inman sign outside of our town on the highway, just to be hooligans, But it was pouring rain, and we couldn't get it down. And we went out to Doug Palmateer's house, and his mom made us all change clothes and put on all of Doug's clothes instead. And then we watched The Shining, and I definitely remember the naked woman from it.
I was just so enamored with the bathtub and how green everything was around it. I probably just got distracted. So Danny, in the movie they don't really show they allude to what happened, but he sees her. He goes into 217 because he steals the key for it. He goes in there.
Well, Tony's been showing him that door over and over again.
Yeah, and he keeps riding by it on his bike.
Dick move, Tony.
Yeah. And then she's like, and so she's always disgusting.
Yeah.
Always a dead body. But then she gets out of the tub. He runs out of the room and is trying to. The door that he had left open had slammed closed. And she gets her hands around him and chokes him and makes his throat purple. And so they mention that in the movie, but they don't, we never see it. We just hear about it. And in
the book, it's the same thing. You don't see it at first. You have Jack and Wendy having one of their more and more frequent arguments in the lobby. And then you just get Danny just kind of in a daze walking in with these big purple welts on his neck.
Yeah.
And Wendy, of course, at this point is like, well, you obviously did this to him.
Right, because there's nobody else in the hotel.
And Jack's like, now that these things have started happening, he's like, I'm 90% sure I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it finally gets so bad. She's like, there is a 4th person. There's somebody else in here. And he's like, what happened? He did it to himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
And then Danny comes out of his coma and goes, she did it to me. And Jack's so fucking happy. He's like, aha! Yes! You're the bad parent. Score one for Daddy.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. So then, of course, Jack has to eventually go in there to witness it himself. And so And
you get all this stuff with the fire hose that never happens in the movie. The fire hose that both he and Danny see as a snake.
And then obviously the same scene replays. She comes out and also is gonna strangle him, but he knows how to get out. So
he never actually sees her in the book. I think he just he goes in and at first he looks in the tub, nothing in there.
Oh, but her form.
But then he
coming back.
Notices that the rug in front of the tub is wet. And he starts doing his mental gymnastics of well, that could just be from the water leaking and condensation and the humidity in the air. And anyways, I'm going to leave now. Yes. And as he's walking through, he hears, and then he looks back and he sees kind of a shape behind the curtain.
That's what it is.
And he's like, well, that's of course just light reflecting through the curtain wrong. Anyways, I'm going to really leave now. And then he can't get the door and then he hears the footstep on the rug.
That's what it was.
And he's like, I definitely should leave now. And
yeah. And then he goes back and he was like, there was nothing in there.
Yeah, completely fine. He did it to himself. Anyways, what's for dinner?
Yeah. So
Capon?
So he is a piece of shit. And so then the descent into madness keeps going. I want to make sure we're hitting a lot of the things. I want to make sure I hit all the things. So.
And he's also, this whole time though, he keeps reminding himself that I have nothing else to do. If I leave here, I'm a complete failure as everything. I'm a failure as a writer. I'm a failure as a caretaker. I'm a failure as a husband and as a father. Like I'm essentially we're either going to go live with Wendy's shrew of a mother, or I'm going to pump gas in Stovington for tips. You know,
Right.
like I might as well kill myself.
Yeah.
So we're staying here
Yeah.
because this is my job.
Yeah. And then on the flip side, Danny and Wendy are being like, we should fucking go.
Yeah.
We should just.
Wendy keeps having these very adult conversations with her 5-year-old son, being like,
She's like, what have you seen lately?
Yeah.
Like, what do I need to
"Is
know?
Tony telling you anything about Daddy? Can you ask Tony if we should go now?"
So we.
She's like, I could go get a job.
Yeah.
She suddenly realizes like, oh, I have agency.
Yes.
I'm an adult person who can take care of my son.
And so then, as the descent, the hotels needing them to stay gets louder. Jack, Dad, he, as his kind of cabin fever takes over and all of the things, I think then we meet the bartender, Lloyd, and
I love how in the book Lloyd never actually speaks. You just get him in Jack's head. Jack talks to Lloyd, and then you just get Lloyd answering back, but he never gets quoted. You know, you're just hearing him through Jack's mind.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, Lloyd's just there.
Yeah. But also, for all of the scenes that they took straight from the book, that's like the one that's the weirdest to me that they chose. They're like, yeah, we need to make sure that one goes in the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's just like talking to himself and giving fake money for a fake drink. Like, but it's a good illustration.
Because we know as improvisers, transaction scenes are boring.
Yeah, so boring. So he's like, oh, I don't have my money. And he's like, just drink.
How can I buy this now?
Worst improv scene ever. But that's also, Lloyd is the one that gets it into his head that it's his family that's holding him back. And that he'll be okay if he just takes care of the situation or whatever they call. Like, that's where that comes in. It comes from the bartender. Who, in the book, they also made Grady. Is that what it was in the book, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, they make them two different characters.
He says that he's great because he just makes up the name Lloyd, and I think he finally asks him what his name is.
Because Grady's the butler in the movie.
Oh.
That spills the fancy sherbet drink on him.
I thought they
at
were
the party.
I thought they were the same guy
Nah,
the whole
Lloyd's
time.
a different guy there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So then he's like, "You're right."
Which I looked up the recipe for that sherbet drink, and it sounds pretty good.
We should have it.
Oh yeah, it's
Let's
like
have it.
egg yolk and sugar and brandy and stuff, and you whip it up, and
Great.
it's decadent.
Great. We were ill prepared for this
Don't
today.
spill it on yourself.
And so his physical. So then we start to see
And he's been showing signs of drinking for a while now. Like he's doing the thing with the handkerchief where he keeps blotting his lips. And when he went into town and had to call Al, when he had he did this whole thing where he wants to write a book about the Overlook, because now he knows about all this history about the gangsters who owned it and the businessmen who owned it, and he wants to write this book about the history. And he calls Mr. Ullman, the officious little prick, to basically tell him he's going to write this book. And Ullman's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Fuck you, yeah I am." And he's like, "I'm gonna call Al." And then Jack calls Al, and I was like, "No, you're not." He's like, "I own part of this hotel, you're not gonna do this." And Jack's like, "Okay."
Which is also tying up the threads of all of his history that he's been reading about too, where he realizes that Al is one of them.
Yeah.
One of those hotel owners where all the weird shit keeps happening and the murders and the things. So.
But he bought some Anacin, which was what he used to do when he drank. It was the only thing that could cure his hangover, and he chews them. He chews them dry, which sounds disgusting.
Yeah. So.
But he loves the taste of it because it reminds him of drinking, and so now he's just dry chewing Anacin and constantly wiping his lips and just showing everything he used to do when he drank except actually drinking.
Yeah. And so part of the house taking him over is making him do things to make them even more stuck. And so, and they reveal this very quickly in the movie, but it's much more drawn out and intentional in internal narration in the book. But like, he's like, you're right, we should leave. Let me go see if I can fix the snowmobile.
Yeah.
And then he like throws away the part that would have fixed it. And then
But he has this long conversation with himself in his head where he's also remembering his time at Stovington. And this is where we get the reveal that the kid didn't actually stutter at all.
No.
He just made that up to rationalize kicking him off the team because he just didn't like him. Mm-hmm. And so he's just been this bullshit guy the whole time, and he's just been living this lie about everything. And that's where he also starts to, give us more information about his dad. Like, it's such a long chapter for him to basically just take one part out of the snowmobile and throw it away.
Yep. And then he also smashes the CB radio so they can't. And now in the movie, he opens it up calmly and takes some parts out of it. But I feel like in the book, he smashed it up.
Yeah.
But I can't. So basically, he's like systematically
Isolating them more and
isolating them because the house is kind of making him make those choices. And then he eventually.
Because the house wants Danny.
Yes.
He doesn't realize that yet, but that's what the house is doing. Because Danny has the shine.
Yes.
Because the book is called The Shining.
Yes.
Because that's what the book is about.
Yes.
The movie forgets that completely.
Yes.
Like, at that point in the movie, if you were to ask why is he doing all this, it would be because he wants to kill his family.
Because he has cabin fever.
Yeah, exactly. They never give any other explanation. And
No.
The Shining, the only reason it's there is so he can call Dick Halloran.
Yes.
who wastes a trip.
Yeah.
Who should have just stayed home.
Which we can talk about that too. But so then part of he does, and in the book The Shining does tell him they're interested in Danny, or the building tells them through Grady or whoever that Danny's who they're interested in. But he could save them all by killing them or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, his descent into madness manifests and like, oh, I just need to resolve my family. And he finds a mallet, like a croquet, not croquet.
A roque mallet.
A roque mallet.
Which is like croquet, but fancier.
Yes. So, dun dun dun, there is no axe in the book. It is just also a device that was for the movie, but he did like run around whacking on the doors and like reaching his hand in to like, so all those things happened. It was just with a mallet and not and Wendy finds her knife when she realizes that they're in trouble. So she's got her knife. That weapon is real. And
She's had her knife for a while. She's been like sleeping with a knife wrapped in a towel under her pillow for weeks now.
I call him Knifey.
Honestly, my mom used to sleep with a knife under her pillow. Like, after my parents got divorced, she would like lock her bedroom door at night and sleep with a knife under her pillow. Which I feel like, what about us?
You were there?
Yeah. She's like, no, I'm protecting myself.
Yeah. Gosh, what a life.
But yeah, you don't get the iconic, like, him cutting through the door, obviously there's no, here's Johnny, anything like that. That was
He spews no dad jokes or anything at all in the movie. In the book.
In the book, he doesn't have fun.
No.
Like, Jack Nicholson in the movie is gleeful. In the final act, he is having such a good time, trying to kill his family. He's enjoying he's having his best day.
Yes, but no, in the book, it is devastating. And so Wendy, so I know there's the scene where he gets locked in the freezer, and I can't remember if...
The pantry.
In the pantry. So in the movie, she pushed him down the stairs, and that's how he got unconscious. Is that what... I don't think that's what... I think she had her bat, or what did she have? I don't know, but they knocked him unconscious and dragged him into the pantry, so that was part of it, and that's... So that scene was pretty close to what happened in the book.
It's on the stairs, and he has his roque mallet, and she has her knife, and he gets kind of off balance. And but he's very drunk, and Danny's there also. And no, it's in the bar in the book.
Yes.
That's where it is, because she's strangling him, and Danny jumps on, and they have the whole family fight, and she hits him with the wine bottle.
The wine bottle!
Yeah, that's what it is. God, it's so hard when you just watch the movie also.
Yes.
So yeah, it's very different than the movie.
Yeah, so they have like a Simpsons family style fight where they're all strangling each other in a row, and then she gets the wine bottle, they stuff him in the pantry.
So her and Danny are carrying him together, like Danny's got him by the shoulders.
Yes.
5-year-old Danny, she's got him by the legs.
Yes.
And he starts to wake up, and like it's like a fight to get him into the pantry as he's coming to. And they get him locked in there.
Yeah. And so...
And then, she does the march. Ooh, beans would be good for dinner.
Yeah. So they're both on the same page.
Yeah.
And then Danny starts to call to Dick, or has already called to Dick through The Shining to get him to come back from Miami.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole other B plot that is happening that is Dick's journey back to.
Yeah, we get so much of Dick.
Yes.
We get so much Dick in the book.
So much Dick in the book. Read, kids. Oh, and so there's just like all of his like trying to get on a plane as soon as possible, trying to get a car when all the places are closed. So he's on his own, like, is he gonna make it journey to save them? And so then while Jack is in the pantry, Grady, the ghost, talks to him and tells him he's got to kill his family and I'll let you out. And he's like, of course I'm going to do that.
The management wants you to do this, yeah.
Yes, and so the ghost lets him out of the pantry, and then that's when he goes on his rampage with, in the movie it's the axe, but it's the mallet, and then Dick arrives while he's on that rampage, I think. And in the movie, he just stabs him right away with the axe, and then Dick dies. And then that's...
Yeah, the only purpose Dick serves in the movie is it keeps Jack from killing Wendy. Because Wendy's in the bathroom, you know, against doing her, I'm terrified because Stanley Kubrick's been torturing me for 6 months here.
Yes.
And Jack's got his hand through the door, and he's just about to unlock it, and then we hear the sound of the snowcat.
Yes.
Which makes much more sense to take than a snowmobile.
Yes.
Stephen King didn't think that out that much. I don't think Stephen King had ever been on a snowmobile. I don't think Stephen King had ever seen a snowmobile.
No.
I think he just like had heard the word.
Right.
He's like, that's what you would take in this. And then you hear that and you know, crazy Jack's like, oh, I gotta go kill him first.
Yeah. And so, which he does in the movie.
Yeah.
He just goes funk and then he's gone, and it was just a wasted trip, like you said.
Yeah.
In the book.
Should have stayed in his cool apartment.
Yeah. In the book, he helps Wendy and Danny. No, so they eventually stab Jack and he dies.
So Wendy has stabbed him in the back in the bar fight.
Yeah.
He has the knife in his back the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And he's just walking around doing all this stuff with a knife in his back.
Yes. And so what I couldn't figure out at the time is if he's already like not himself, like it's the hotel has taken over his body and Jack is already gone.
There's still some Jack in him because we get the final confrontation between him and Danny where Danny is able to pull Jack out.
Yes.
Enough for him to be like, run. Like, I don't want to be doing this. And then he broke him out in the face over and over again to completely destroy the rest of Jack Torrance.
Yes, and then he goes, and then the hotel is panicking, and then that's when he goes to the boiler,
and
right?
That's when Danny says, oh, Tony told me about all this. I understand now what I need to be doing here. You forgot about the boiler, you fucking idiot.
Yes. So
I'm a 5-year-old and I remembered it. You're bad at your job.
So basically, Dick Halloran comes back. Danny saves the day, reminds Jack to do the boiler because the building's gonna blow.
Because Danny has The Shining, because that's the name of the book, because that's what's important about it.
Yes. And so the corpse, the animated corpse of Jack is getting down to the basement.
Knife in his back.
Knife in his back.
Rope mallet as a cane.
Yeah, trying to get the boiler to release
and
while...
Dick Halloran, who has half his face smashed in, picks up Wendy under one arm and Danny under the other arm and Supermans them down the stairs.
They fucking run. And so the end of the book is them getting away and then the hotel exploding.
Yeah.
Is what happens in the book.
And you get a big manta ray of evil flying up into the sky and getting carried away by the wind.
Yeah.
But then Dick Halloran has to go get like blankets and tarps to wrap them up in because it's fucking cold.
Yes.
It's a blizzard.
Yes.
And as he's in the equipment shed, the hotel tries to take him over.
Yeah.
He sees the rope mallet and he's like, oh, I could kill someone with that.
It's like, no!
And he takes it and he's like, yeah, you know what? This is their fault. I should kill them. And then he's like, what the fuck?
So has it been the mallet the whole time? Was it the mallet?
The mallets or something, because once he sees that mallet, that's when he's like, oh yeah.
Because one of Danny's premonitions, like way at the beginning of the book, was him coming back with a mallet in the seat of his car.
Yeah.
With him.
And he didn't know what it was, because who the hell knows what roke is?
Right. So anyway, to recap, things in the movie that were not in the book. The axe.
Mm-hmm.
Him saying, "Here's Johnny."
Mm-hmm.
The all work and no play.
Yeah.
Scene.
The whole that whole thing. My tattoo makes no sense in the book. It does not appear.
Yeah, but I was really proud of whatever props person got to make that box of sheets.
Stanley Kubrick made his assistant type out every one of those. He's a perfectionist.
Yeah. So the twins, the sisters, Grady had one son. So the scene where they're like, "Come play forever and ever and ever," was one boy.
Yep.
And he was drowning like out in the pool in the playground in the snow was the situation because Danny kept trying to go outside.
And he's probably the thing that Danny feels in the tunnel when he's in the snowpacked like play tube thing. It's trying to take him.
Yes. So it's a boy in the playground, not twins in a hallway.
Yeah. And he's probably like, you want to play Tiddlywinks?
Yeah. And so no riding the tricycle around, but I loved it. No bleeding elevator. No maze.
No Jack trying to bang the lady in 237.
Yeah, no 237 at all. It was 217. Dick dying was not in the book. And
Tony, the finger.
So I want to talk about Tony for a second because there is a point at the end of the book where he says Daniel Anthony Torrance.
Did you figure it out?
And so is Tony just an older version of Danny?
Yeah. Tony is basically Danny from the future communicating with his younger self.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so
which kind of gets explained a little better in the sequel book, Dr. Sleep.
So that sets up something, like they set up a lot of stuff to happen again later. So that's good. That's what I was just like.
Which is why it's kind of a dick move for Tony to be showing him to go into this room with this lady who's going to strangle him. Like, if you know that's going to happen, just don't do that, man. But it had to happen because then you get into causality and everything. And
yeah, I know time travel stories. Or
timey-wimey stuff.
So that helps close. So they didn't do any of that in the movie. Tony was just some weird voice that lived in his mouth.
Yeah.
Or whatever they said. He lived in my mouth. And then just the way that Jack's death played out was very different in the book. Because in the movie, they have their final chase in the maze. Hate it. And
Danny uses an old Native American trick to outsmart his father.
Yeah.
He's 5.
He covers his tracks, back traces over it. And then
Jack falls for it completely.
And then freezes to death. And then they have just a really quick cut to him.
Just the iconic.
And then it's over.
But then you get the epilogue. Which is also not... oh, no, you don't get the epilogue in the movie. You get the epilogue in the book.
Yeah. And so that it sets up them making it safely to Maine. Is that where Maine is? Okay.
Yeah,
and then,
Maine, where Dick has gotten a new job.
And they have a place to stay, and things are fine. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
until Dr. Sleep.
Where Danny is an adult, right? So that's like in the future. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think part of the reason why Stephen King doesn't like the movie is because, as you said, almost all of the iconic things from it he didn't think of.
Right.
He doesn't get credit for those.
So he's jealous that they had better ideas.
Yeah. He's like, no, hedge animals are fun. They're scary. It's scary to see a big plant lion come after you in the snow.
Yeah, and the plant and the topiary animals were a big part of Dick's big comeback in the book too, because when he finally did get a rental car and a snowcat and was trying to get back to the Overlook, the hedge animals.
Yeah, he fights a hedge lion.
Like
he would have looked stupid in a movie.
Yeah, he takes his spare gas can and throws it on him and sets him on fire.
And he doesn't say have some fire, Scarecrow, which he should have.
So he has a really big hero journey, like getting to the hotel.
And that's the thing that's common in Stephen King adaptations. When you try to faithfully adapt Stephen King books, it doesn't work well because things that you read are scarier sometimes than things you're seeing on a screen. The best adapters, guys like Frank Darabont and Mike Flanagan, understand that you keep the things that are important, but you make it work for a movie because visual is different than reading. Guys like Mick Garris, who Stephen King loves collaborating with, worked with him so many times in like the 90s and early 2000s, who are just like, I'm going to do whatever Stephen King wants me to. They're just not that good of movies because it's just trying to take the page and put it on screen.
Right. Because he's not a movie guy.
Yeah.
He's a book guy.
He's a book guy.
Yeah.
Stephen King directed one movie called Maximum Overdrive, which was an adaptation of a short story he wrote. He was on cocaine the entire time. He remembers none of it.
Okay.
It's a fucking mess.
Oh, okay. All right. So that all makes sense. I'm glad that you were as disappointed with the movie adaptation.
I remember loving The Shining as a movie, and now having watched it immediately after reading the book, I was just like, this is nothing. They took The Shining out of The Shining.
They should have called it The Shooning.
Yeah. They should have called it Jack Hates His Family.
Yes. Jack is a piece of shit. So, but it does really bring up like just a lot of, gosh, now that I know that there was just like a lot of personal of himself in the story, it's like, maybe, I don't know if it's a healthy way to deal with it or not.
That's going to be a common theme in Stephen King books, though. A lot of what he read, especially his early stuff, is just like based on his life growing up. A lot of his characters are him.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Well, I think that's probably enough for now.
I agree.
So if you haven't read The Shining yet, go ahead and read it. And then all of these things will make sense. Or maybe you just enjoyed hearing our voices. And then the next time we do a book club, we're going to be reading Carrie.
Yeah.
So go ahead and get that on your reading list, and we'll see you then. Okay, now do the crazy Stanley Kubrick face.
And we'll put like the music at the end of the movie over this.
Yay!